So we created a new instance of the router. So over there we'll create a new route which will basically get all of the routes. So it will be slash, and then we will create authors controller. So and then it will have a method called get authors over there. So now we have not created this class till this point, but we will create it. So now let's go to the src itself, and over there let's create a folder called the controllers, and then over there let's create a file called authors controller.ts. So doing this, we'll simply create a dummy route for the time being, because I just noticed that we have not created the entities. So the next thing that we need to do is create the entities so that we can play around with this. So I think instead of wasting our time in the dummy controller, let's quickly move on to the database part, and then let's add few of the entities over here. So database will have the migrations related stuff, so let's keep it as it is, and then let's go to the src folder and let's create a directory called entities. So yeah, it's not a perfect folder structure at the moment, we are not organizing it in a perfect manner, but we will try to see this how how we can optimize the thing in the upcoming part. So now first thing, so let's create entities. So the entity that we want to create is called author. So it will be author.ts. So it is basically a TypeORM entity. So I would like to request you to go into the TypeORM's official documentation as well. So it is basically going to be a class which will be named as author, and then from here what can I do is that it is basically a class. So it is an entity, and then I can simply pass the name of the table. So I want to name this as author, so I am passing this as author. So one thing that you might have noticed is that we are repeating the authors in most of the places, like in the migrations, and it is over here, it is over there, even when we are trying to like revert the migration. So I think we are duplicating the code, and let's say if we need to make change on the table name of the table, so even during the development phase, if we thought that okay, I want to name this to something else instead of authors, I just want to make it author something, or by applying some underscore, in that case I will have to come through all of these files and make changes. So it's not a good way. So instead let's try to follow a pattern called single source of truth. So we want to store the variables somewhere, and so that changing on the one place, we should not be worrying about changing everywhere. So within the src directory, let's create a new directory. Let's name this as constants. Let's keep it as constant at the moment, and let's name this as db table.ts. So how can we do this? So we can try two different ways. Export const, so authors. Okay, so we can name this as authors. So for the time being, we'll simply export this as a basic file. Yeah, we could try enum as well. So let's keep this as it is at the moment, and we can think of renaming this into something else after a while. So I think let's name this to db. Let's keep this like this, db table. And then coming over here, what do I want to do is I want to do the db table and dot I want to import authors from db table. So what will I do is I can simply pass the authors const over here. So the name of the table would be authors. So now which is coming from which basically comes from this part. So the next thing that I need to do is I need to make changes into this part as well, because if I want to rename this folder to something else, that will not be a good solution. So let's keep this as authors, and then over here let's keep this as authors as well. Yeah, And then what is this saying is so already include in the debatable.ts. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, it is referring to the same file, and then I think we can make this okay, I'll just fix it in a while. So this is not how it is fixed. So where am I? So I'm in the database directory. I need to go one step back, and then one step back, and then come to the constants, and then debatable. So it should be all good. So I too much relied on the IDE. So let's simply close this. Let's go to the other file. Yeah, so we've pretty much created a new entity. So we need to add few of the columns as well. So the first column that we want, it is an ID which is of the type number. So it is an primary generated column. So that's all. We could pass few of the other parameters as per required, but for now it's good. So the next thing is name, which is of the type string, and then it is a column as well, and then we cannot have this as nullable, so we'll set nullable to false. So let me quickly copy this and also set few of the other fields, like it will be email, it cannot be nullable as well. And then what are the fields that we have? We also have an bio. Let's keep this as a string, and then it can be nullable, so that is the thing. And finally let's have a field called the image, which will store the information for the which will have the information for the image of the particular author. So now we pretty much have these things at this point. So now we have this thing. So now let's go to our route part. So where we created our route, so it was author dot, sorry, it is something, okay, let's open the author.ts. So this is the route. So we need to create a new controller called authors controller. So let's quickly do that as well. So over here, let's create a new file called authors controller.ts. So yeah, there is already a file. So this will also be a class which is named as authors controller. So we will have a method called async, which is get authors. And what will this do is it will do something like it will have request, it will have a response. So these things, request and response, it needs to come from the express. So what we need to do is import the request and the response. It will be coming from the express. Let's quickly save this, and then this is a async method. And then what this will return is it will return let's not worry about the return type, we'll fix this in a while. So we need to get the authors. So const authors is equal to, we need to do something like, we need to once more get the app data source over here. So this is something that has been changed in the latest version of the TypeORM. So we'll get the repository, and then we'll set the repository to author, and then we'll find the data. So for now we don't worry about making changes on we should not worry about any sort of complex queries. So eventually we'll get into that. So what will you do is return res.status. Let's set it to 200, and then what do we want to do is we want to send send a JSON. For now let's say success is equal to true, and then message is equal to fetched authors successfully, and then finally we need to have a data, so data will have the authors. So this is how it will be. So now we simply exported a class over here. So now let's go to our route called authors.ts. so over there what do we need to do is const author authors controller is equal to new. It will be authors controller. Yeah, I made a mistake in this part, so it needs to be authors controller. So let's fix this thing, and then let's fix this thing, and then let's keep it to instead let's keep it to smaller one, so it will get an author. And finally we need to do the export default router. So we export this router, and then let's go to our app.ts. so for going into app.ts, what can we do? So over here we will use this as a middleware, so we'll use, and for /authors, what we will be doing is authors route. So let's simply import the authors route over here. Let's go to this part. So import authors route, from we will get it from ./route/authors, and let's save this, and so yeah, it will be fine. So now let's open the terminal. So let's try to get the authors, but currently there will not be any data. So let's open the SQL AS. So for this, once more I need to be connecting to my database 127.0.0.1. it will be root database is bookie_ts_youtube, and it is 3306. let's connect to it. So within authors we do not have any data. So now let's try to insert some data. Let's insert the data manually. So let's insert into authors. We want to insert the id, name, email, and then bio. And for image, let's insert the image as well, and the values we want to insert would be 1, and then John Doe, and then email will be john@author.com, and then for the bio, this is author John, and then for the image we'll be using something like http google.com. we are keeping the things very, very simple at the moment, but we will make use of this after a while. So yeah, it seems there is one data seeded, so which will be a confirmation for us to see that there is a data. So now let's go over here, and then let's do something like yarn dev, which will start our dev server. So okay. So this is because we missed a couple of things previously. So within tsconfig.json, you can see that image decorator metadata, it's false. We need to set this to true in the first place, and the next thing is that within the index.ts we need to import, we need to make sure that we have imported reflect metadata. So what will we do is we'll import reflect metadata over here, and we'll save it. So the next thing that we need to do is within our data source.ts. so I will close this terminal. So let's go to the data source.ts. As you can see, there is an option for the entities. So what we need to do is we need to register all of the entities that we want to be part of this data source. So let's quickly import the author over here. So now let's go to this postman. So let's try to hit it. So I'll just quickly move this over there.